chat this morning with the leader of Fianna Fail, Micheal Martin TD. He is visiting County Wicklow today. We've just about caught up with him. He's on the line. Good morning to you, Deputy Martin.
Good morning, Declan.
Good morning. Nice to talk to you, and welcome to County Wicklow. What brings you here today?
Well, I'm here today. This is part of a two-part tour of Wicklow. I'm with Pat Casey today, and we're doing a tour of Blessington, Rathangan, onto Arklow, Wicklow town, and we'll be meeting with various people. I'm in Glendalough at the moment, and we'll be talking with various interests, meeting people on the ground, knocking on doors, and listening a lot to the concerns of people across the region. On a future date, then I'll be back with Stephen Donnelly in his area of the county to go through the issues there.
Well, I'm sure Deputy Casey, Pat Casey, has told you about our situation with Laragh Post Office and indeed about Ardmore Studios. So what's the Fianna Fail approach to those two issues?
Well, I think, as you know, Pat has been very diligent and very effective in Doyle-Earden and particularly in Ardmore Studios. I think he has led the charge on that. We're very concerned about what's going on there. It flies in the face of government policy in relation to Wicklow being a hub for the film industry. We first of all, we were trying to get far more transparency around that particular deal and the prospectus and so on. And I think Pat did a lot of work on that. But we would be very anxious that the government would ensure the retention of Ardmore Studios as a film centre for the production of film. I mean, it's world class. The output has been world class over the years, and it has created obviously significant direct employment, but also, of course, has a wider impact in terms of tourism and other related,
so
commercial and
do?
retail and so on. All benefited from the fact, not just the 500 jobs in the studios themselves. I would have met with workers outside of Leinster House.
Do you see any solution to the problem for the workers there?
Well, I would have liked to see Enterprise Ireland intervene and to knock heads together to essentially ensure the retention of Ardmore Studios as a film base. That's the key issue.
Yeah, even though Ashford have talked about an expansion, there's one in Limerick. Is the commitment to the film industry in Ireland or to Ardmore Studios?
Just migrated out of the county to other locations. I mean, that's not adding anything to the national film output, and it would be worrying if people were given incentives to go to another part of the country to the detriment of Wicklow and to the tradition and the long track record of Ardmore. I would be very concerned if it was undermined in that way.
So can I take it from that, just to finish on this, that you've got a commitment to Ardmore as well as a commitment to the film industry?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The film industry, we've been long-term champions as a party of the film industry. Sean Lemass, as you know, would have been, I think, opened Ardmore Studios. So that's something that we are attached to, have a strong commitment to, and believe it's important in a region of natural beauty like this as well, that an industry that is compatible with the area is both maintained, retained and enhanced.
The Laragh Post Office, Micheal, I'm sure Pat has filled you in on the Laragh Post Office situation there. And Post Office generally hundreds maybe destined to be closed unless they change?
Well, we've been meeting with the Post Office groups for quite some time, and some work has been done. As you know, there's been reports in relation to the future of post offices. Bobby Garrett and his team have done a lot of work, but there's been slow execution and delivery in terms of bringing new activities and services that post offices could provide to people, and that there is now a lot of concern across rural Ireland and indeed in some urban centres in terms of the recent report of up to 200 post offices being in jeopardy. Now that's, in our view, unacceptable, and we'll be pushing very strongly in Doyle-Earden and with the Minister to make sure that an alternative approach is taken to enhance the services that post offices can provide. To a certain extent, a lot of the banking services, you take issues like driver's licenses and so on, there's been too much of a tendency to centralise a lot of service provision in terms of citizens' weekly and everyday needs. And I think we need to be far more creative utilising technology to enable people to access those kind of services and on the ground in their own localities. And I think we need a mind shift and a mind change in relation to that. And I think we should take some lessons from what's happening in the United Kingdom, where that is happening in terms of the post office network there, where they've developed their post offices as a community hubs, as community centres, if you like, for people to access a whole range of services. And I think we need a bit more energy behind that idea here applied to the Irish Post Office network.
I get a sense of talking to people, on the programme and correspondence comes in, etc., that there's a certain amount of disillusionment with politics. Maybe not to the same extent as we thought there might be in Holland or in the United Kingdom or in America or whatever. But can politics sort out the problems? Politics seems to fail health, housing, even what's going on with the Air Corps not having somebody available, and we had to get the Coast Guard with the helicopter to go out last time. There's people working on minimum wage who'll never get a mortgage. There's people working odd hours. That's the only job they can get. They mightn't even be able to get a bank account. It's just, they look at society and they say, politics is something that TDs do and they have chats, but it doesn't affect us.
I think you've articulated well how many people feel about politics. And I wouldn't disagree with you that there is a significant disconnect sometimes between the language and the rhetoric and the bubble of Leinster House and the reality on the ground. And that's one of the reasons I'm on the ground today with Pat Casey, is to actually talk to people up front, if you like, and just to hear on the doorstep what people have to say. And I've been doing this now for the last number of years to stay connected to issues on the ground. And I think all politicians, and irrespective of party, have to be more attentive to the kind of issues that you've just articulated, because sometimes the official press releases or government releases just don't connect with the reality of people's experiences on the ground. You take it from car insurance, for example, to the housing crisis, to the crisis in our hospitals. People are becoming more and more disillusioned. And I'm a passionate believer in democracy and in parliamentary democracy. So the obligation of politicians is to double down and work harder and deliver solutions. And I think the failure to execute much of what is aspired or much of what is articulated is part of the problem. So you take housing, for example. We've had strategy after strategy, but no real apparent dent in the numbers. So the homeless numbers go up, the number of children in emergency accommodation go up. We don't see council houses getting built. We learned this morning, for example, that of the so-called famous rapid development units that were announced about 2 years ago, only one have been completed. I mean, that is scandalous in the context of the worst housing crisis we've experienced in generations.
But Micheal, there's no confidence in the system to do it. That if you were in with your party and you were the leading, and maybe you have a confidence and supply agreement with Fine Gael if it changed and you didn't get numbers, but that sort of arrangement, it doesn't really work for people. It's just, it doesn't matter which political party is in, they cannot make a difference.
Well, I think they can, and politics should make a difference and be seen to make a difference. I think the problems in some of these areas is the last government ignored the housing crisis for about 3 years before they realised that how serious it was, and there's plenty of evidence of that on the Dáil record of people alerting them to the growing homelessness crisis, and also groups like Focus Ireland and Simon were saying it from 2012 onwards that this was going to become a huge issue. And it got ignored for far too long until just before the last general election, when the first strategy came out. And likewise, in terms of health, the budgets were fudged in the last 2 years. We didn't get transparent figures in the two budgets before the election, and essentially the books were cooked to a certain degree in relation to health, and we're paying the price of that now. And there are other issues as well, I acknowledge, in terms of the delivery of health services. In regional and rural Ireland, the last government took a particular decision to cut leader programs, for example, savagely, which has impacted in many villages and towns and rural areas in terms of their capacity to do things themselves with the help of leader funding. So governments do make a difference, and we're hoping that as a result of the confidence and supply, and someone had to step up to the plate to make sure there was a government. We didn't get the numbers. We sought the numbers in the Dáil, but we didn't get them. Other parties didn't support us. So essentially, that led to Fine Gael independent minority government. We have facilitated that in the interests of the country.
And how long will that continue, moving a little bit onto this position of the Taoiseach, his uncertain future? How worried are you about that, or what's your view?
Well, obviously, the leadership of Fine Gael party is an internal matter.
That's not the same thing, though. That's not the same thing.
I would say to you, my own genuine sense since the government was formed is that there's been too much internal angst within the Fine Gael party, that they've been very unsettled. They didn't like the results of the general election, and I don't think they've accepted it fully within themselves. And that is a destabilising force in the government since its inception. It's also allowed for a certain degree of inertia in terms of getting things done. And so legislation has been very slow coming through government side onto the House. And I think the government needs to step up and needs to improve its performance. And I think ministers will be far better focused on delivering in their respective portfolios than just wondering how I can look good in the next day's newspaper. And there's a bit too much of that going on at the moment, jousting for profile, and we're having a raft of initiatives announced now that couldn't have been announced 9 months ago. Or
but it can't be good for Ireland.
So, there's no point in producing ideas now 2 months after a budget. The budget was an opportunity to do things.
Yeah, but this, hold on. Sorry, Deputy Martin, listen, it can't be good that we're discussing whether the Taoiseach should go or not, and you must have a view that you want to get things back on track. Obviously, you'd want to be in power, but, for us as the electorate, we're looking at this, internal thing with Fine Gael, but our country, we don't know who's going to be Taoiseach.
Well, we have a Taoiseach at the moment, and it's only 3 weeks ago that the Dáil voted confidence in that Taoiseach, and that the Fine Gael Parliamentary Party voted confidence in that Taoiseach. I think it's a bit taken to people too much for granted when 2 weeks after that, the same TDs who voted confidence in Enda Kenny articulate within their own parliamentary party that they have huge problems with Enda Kenny. So I think that's not serving the people well.
So you're going to pull the plug?
Is a very serious...
will you pull the plug on it then, because of the uncertainty?
I just make the point, I think it's an important point. If the Dáil votes confidence in the Taoiseach, then that should be it for quite a considerable length of time after that. The idea that you would vote confidence in a formal vote of confidence in Dáil Éireann, in a Taoiseach and in a government, and then within weeks seek to undermine that, I think is taking, is undermining respect for the legislator in itself and for the whole principle of the Dáil endorsing a government at a given time. So I think Fine Gael need to be true to the Constitution and true to how the Oireachtas works, and put the people first and start focusing on the issues. Because that's why we facilitated a government on the basis of a confidence and supply agreement that said we want housing dealt with, we want health dealt with, we want more fairness and a sense of decency in how society is organised. That's the key point. Those are the issues that matter to people on the ground. We have Brexit coming up, which is the biggest single challenge that this country has faced in over 50 years, because it changes the economic model that we've been accustomed to. And you know that the agri-food sector, our largest indigenous industry, thousands of jobs at stake. You have Kerry Foods in South Wicklow, 800 people employed, for example, with major contracts with the United Kingdom and Tesco and so on in the UK. These are the issues that really people are concerned about, and they want politicians to get on with dealing with those issues, not the issue of sort of who's next in line or who's the best option and so on. I think we need to get back focus on the key issues that matter, the bread and butter issues that matter to people who are working.
Deputy Martin, Micheal, thank you for your time. Just one last question, if you don't mind, and that is Stephen Donnelly. Do you think the people of Wicklow will trust him again?
Well, I think they will. I think Stephen Donnelly has been a very effective parliamentary performer. I think his recent initiatives, for example, in relation to vulture fund and the taxation of vulture funds, I think was a very good example of an effective parliamentarian at work. The feedback we have received has been very positive. I think it shows we're an open party, open to ideas. I think Pat Casey has displayed wonderful generosity of spirit in welcoming Stephen into the organisation, into the parliamentary party, and I think we have two very strong TDs now. I think nationally during the election, Stephen was very well received because of his performance in the debate, and we have genuinely across the country received very positive response on the grounds that people feel that he can make a stronger impact now on national politics than just as an independent. And I think, we're open to new people and new ideas into the future. And So overall, I think obviously it'll be challenging to retain the 2 seats, but we will work with people. We've 2 strong TDs now. They will continue their hard work, Pat and Stephen will, to deliver for Wicklow and for the country.
Leader of Fianna Fail, Micheal Martin TD. Thank you very much indeed, Micheal. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your visit to Wicklow. Thank you. Good morning to you. Okay. Our number here is 087 77 11 103. That's the text 087 77 11 103. And the deputy, Micheal Martin, Deputy Micheal Martin TD is in Glendalough, okay? And he's heading to various places like Blessington, Ratdangan, Arklow, Wicklow Town and Rathdrum, if you are interested in meeting him. We'll be going to the Mayo Coast very soon, and also we'll hear